Our next topic is mechanical properties of materials. So in order to select a suitable material for a particular application, its mechanical properties plays an important role. Now let us see some of the important mechanical properties of the material. First one, elasticity. So here elasticity is nothing but it is one of the important mechanical properties of the material. By virtue of it, the material will regain its original shape and size after removal of the external force. So in order to explain this elasticity, let us consider a simple stress and strain diagram. So in this diagram, we can see the stress is, as the load increases, the stress is directly proportional to the strain. So if the load is within the elastic limit point A, so the stress is directly proportional to strain, which is nothing but as the stress increases, strain also increases by the same amount. And when the load is removed after it reaches the point A, so what happens? The material will regain its original shape and size, which is nothing but, so it will come back to its original position or shape by following the same straight line path. So next one, plasticity. So it is also one of the important mechanical properties of the material, by virtue of which the material will not regain its original shape and size after removal of the external load, which is nothing but when the body, with the help of same stress strain diagram, I will explain the property plasticity. When the body is loaded beyond the point E, you can say E to B represent plastic limit or plastic region. So what happens? So after it reaches the point B, if we remove the load, it will not regain its original shape and size. A permanent deformation takes place, which is nothing but a plasticity. So next one, ductility. So ductility is nothing but it is the one of the important property of material, by virtue of which the material can be drawn into wires. So the example is either aluminum or steel. So let us consider the example of a steel. So in this diagram we can see the tensile load. If we apply tensile load in the opposite direction, so what happens? This diameter of the specimen reduces and it will become a thin wire. So this property is nothing but a ductility. If the material is having more ductility, so it will have a, a thin wire like structure if the load is applied. Next property is malleability. So here malleability is nothing but it is also one of the mechanical property of the material. So in which the material can be drawn into thin sheets. One of the best example for the malleability is gold. So if we force the gold or hammer the gold, so it will become a thin sheet without having any cracks or fracture. So because it is having more malleable property compared to the other material. Next one, hardness. So hardness is nothing but resistance offered by a body against indentation or applied compressive load. So here indentation is nothing but if any hard object is pressed against the soft object, there is a permanent mark which is formed on the soft object, which is nothing but a indentation. If the material is having more hardness value, so it does not have much indentation mark compared to the soft material. Next one is the toughness. Toughness is nothing but it is the ability of the material to absorb shock load or impact load, so without having any breakage. If the material undergoes some deformation, which is nothing but it is its toughness property. So next one is brittleness. So in case of a brittleness, if the material is having a very small deformation or yielding or even zero deformation, which is nothing but a brittleness. So let us consider the example. So in the first case we can see, so if the material is having high toughness, so it undergoes deformation or it absorbs the shock load, but it will not break. There is a deformation, but there is no breaking of material takes place. Whereas in case of brittleness, so if we apply the sudden load, so it undergoes small deformation and suddenly it will break. So the best example for brittleness is cast iron and glass. Next one is stiffness. If the preloaded material does not allow the material to undergo further deformation, which is nothing but its a stiffness property. Next one, resilience. So resilience by definition is almost the same as toughness because it absorbs the energy to resist shock and impact load. So next one, creep. So when a body is subjected to a constant load at high temperature for a long period of time, it will undergo slow and permanent deformation is called creep. The next topic is a stress strain diagram. In order to compare the properties of different materials, so we have to conduct a series of standard tests. So one such standard test is tensile test, where a standard cylindrical specimen is subjected to a tension load or tensile load. So the load is applied until the specimen breaks or failure occur. So here L0 represent the gauge length. So before applying the load, its gauge length is L0. So after the failure of the specimen, there is an increment in the gauge length L by forming a neck shape in the center of the gauge length. So next topic is typical tensile test curve for mild steel. So to conduct tensile test, we have to consider a standard tensile specimen of cylindrical shape. So the cylindrical shaped tensile test sample is subjected to a tension force with the help of universal testing machine. So here load is applied in the opposite direction, tension load is applied in the opposite direction like this. Here the load is increased from 0 to till the failure of the sample takes place. So this is nothing but a gauge length L0 is the initial gauge length before applying the load. So this sample is inserted in universal testing machine to conduct the tensile test. So before applying the load, first we have to measure the initial length of the gauge or gauge length of the sample. Then once we start applying the load, there is a small increment in the gauge length. As the load increases, there is an increase in the gauge length. So we have to find out its stress as well as strain. By definition, we know stress is nothing but load by area. So load is varying with respect to time. So if we substitute the load by its cross sectional area, so we will get the stress value. Again, next is the strain. To calculate the strain, we know change in length by original length is nothing but a strain. So the original length is L0 and the change in length. So with the help of extensiometer, here the extensiometer is attached here. It will directly measure how much increment takes place with respect to the increase in the length. So with the help of extensiometer, we can measure the change in length. By substituting change in length by original length, we can find its strain. So after finding or calculating stress and strain, so we have to plot a graph by taking stress along y-axis and strain along x-axis. So if you plot stress strain diagram for mild steel, we will get curve like this, because the mild steel is a ductile material. So ductility is nothing but the property of the material by virtue of which it can be drawn into thin wires. So it will absorb all the energy which is applied or load which is applied on it, and ultimately failure of the sample takes place. That's why the stress strain in the stress strain diagram, so it will undergo so many cycles before it fails. In the stress strain diagram of mild steel, so we have different limits. So in that, first one is limit of proportionality. So in the graph or the stress strain diagram of mild steel, we can see this is the limit called proportionality limit or limit of proportional. So what happens when the load increases, the stress and strain increases correspondingly. So where stress is directly proportional to, this is called stress is directly proportional to a strain. So that's why we can see there is a straight line from 0 to or O to proportional limit. The stress strain diagram is a straight line. So this one was first postulated by a scientist called Robert Hooke in the year 1678, where stress is directly proportional to strain if the load is within the proportionality limit. Therefore, stress becomes equals to strain by a proportionality constant called E, where E is nothing but a Young's modulus. So this is nothing but a Hooke's law. This is nothing but a Hooke's law. Stress is equals to Young's modulus into strain. So once it crosses the proportionality limit or limit of proportionality, so the stress is no longer proportional to strain. So to find the stress at the particular point called proportionality limit, sigma p is equals to load by area. So load at a proportionality limit, by substituting load of proportionality limit and its original cross section area, we will get the stress at proportionality limit. In the stress strain diagram, next important limit is elastic limit. So in the graph we can see the second important limit is the elastic limit. So once it reaches when the specimen reaches the elastic limit, stress is no longer proportional to strain, but material behaves like a elastic. So by definition we know elasticity, material will regain its original shape and size once the load is removed, right? So if the specimen is loaded within the elastic limit and load is removed, so it will regain its original shape and size by following the same path. Okay, so for the practical purpose, we assume that both this elastic limit and proportionality limit are in the same point, and once it crosses the elastic limit, the material will not behave elastically, or it loses its elasticity property and become plastic. There is a permanent deformation takes place. It will not regain its original shape and size once the load is removed. So to find the stress at elastic limit, so we have to consider the basic relation to find the stress. Stress is equals to load by area. So here we are finding the stress at elastic limit, therefore load at elastic limit by original cross section area. By substituting load at elastic limit by original cross sectional area, we will get the elastic stress or stress at elastic limit. Next point is a yield point. So in the stress strain diagram we can see the yield point is the third important point in the stress strain diagram. So once it crosses the elastic limit, so there is a permanent deformation takes place in the specimen. So once it reaches the yield point, it will not take much load to increase its gauge length. So gauge length will be increases exponentially, so with a less amount of load. So to find the yield strength of a particular material, so we have to consider sigma y is equals to py by a, where py is the load at yield point, whereas A is the cross sectional area. By substituting load at yield point by its original cross section area, we can able to find its yield stress. So in the yield point, there are two important stages. One is upper yield point, whereas another one is lower yield point. So in case of upper yield point, the point C is the upper yield point, whereas the point D is the lower yield point. So in case of upper yield point, with less amount of load, there is a large increment in the length of the sample takes place, whereas in the lower yield point, we can see the stress is constant, whereas the strain is increasing. Once it crosses lower yield point, there is a increase in both stress and strain takes place. You can see. So at this point, it absorbs the maximum amount of load. So this point is nothing but the ultimate strength of a particular material. So if we find the stress at this point is nothing but ultimate stress. So ultimate stress is equals to load at, or the maximum load taken by the material to its original cross-sectional area. So next one is rupture strength. Beyond the ultimate stress point, the necking takes place and the cross-sectional area considerably decreases. So in this case, we can see there is a decrease in the cross-sectional area, whereas increase in the gauge length takes place, and also the load carrying capacity of the specimen decreases. Hence, in this portion from ultimate strength to the rupture strength, there is an increase in the strain takes place and a decrease in the stress state takes place. Therefore, at this point, the specimen breaks or failure of the sample takes place by cup and cone shape. So, the stress at this point is called breaking stress or the fracture stress. Next one is stress strain diagram for brittle material. So we know brittle material is a material having negligible yielding. Okay, so in case of brittle material, we can see the stress strain diagram. There is no yielding at all. So once it reaches or once it is loaded, so it will undergo small deformation and suddenly failure of the sample takes place at this point without having any yielding. So whereas in case of a mild steel, so it undergo upper yield point, lower yield point, then ultimate strength rupture of the sample takes place. So therefore in case of a brittle material, sigma u is equals to sigma b. So sigma u is nothing but ultimate strength of the material becomes equals to the breaking strength of the material. So if we see the specimen, so in case of a ductile material is having a property called a ductility. One of the example is a mild steel. So it fails by forming cup and cone arrangement because it can be drawn into thin wires. It is having ability to become a thin wire, whereas brittle material there is a sudden fracture or failure of the sample takes place without having any yielding or deformation. So the next important concept is the proof stress. So here to define the proof stress, let us consider the example of aluminum. So what happens in case of aluminum, it does not have a constant yielding once it crosses the elastic limit. So to find its yield point, so we have to follow a graphical procedure called the offset method. So in the offset method, so what happens, so we are going to consider usually 0.2% of the strain, and from this point if we draw a parallel line to the stress strain diagram, so it touches the stress strain diagram at particular point. So this particular point is nothing but it's a yield strength. Our next concept is nominal stress and true stress. So for mild steel stress strain diagram, so we have seen, so what happens once it reaches the ultimate strength, so its cross sectional area keep on reducing. because the formation of a neck. So this is because we have calculated stress by dividing its original cross-sectional area. But in actual practice, what happens as the material is loaded or the specimen is loaded, its cross-sectional area keep on reducing or changing. So to get the actual or true stress of the sample, so the load should be divided by its actual cross-sectional area. So in the typical stress strain diagram, we can see, so once it crosses the ultimate strength, before it reaching the rupture point, there is a decrease in the stress strain diagram because we have calculated stress load by its original cross sectional area. But in actual practice, what happens? So as we keep on increasing the load, its cross sectional area decreases. So if we calculate stress by dividing load by its actual cross sectional area, we will get the true stress. Therefore, a nominal breaking stress is nothing but breaking load by its original cross sectional area. We call this nominal stress as a engineering stress, whereas true stress is nothing but breaking load or load by actual cross sectional area.